Hello, my name is Joseph Fincher, and this is I'm your host of the Peak Arkansas podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be going over 5 state parks in the state of Arkansas. And really, the focus of this podcast is focusing from the perspective of the peaks of each park, such as Mount Nebo, Lake Ouachita, Pinnacle Mountain, Mount Magazine, and Petit State Park. And all of these parks, the 5 things they have in common is they all have mountains that have peaks, and they all have beautiful views to look at. But let's go ahead and get started on today's episode, which is featuring Mount Nebo State Park. This beautiful peak, or park has at least 2 wonderful peaks to view: the Sunset Peak and the Sunrise. It's almost mystical while you're up there, seeing the sunrise on the river valley in the foothills of the Ozarks. It's crazy to see all of just the history and the living geology there. As you gaze down at the city of Russellville, but hustling and bustling, you can see Russellville hasn't been around for that many years, and you can see the geology is taking place. Such as the erosion that's caused a steep cliff and rugged overlooks that's taken over millions of years, so far longer than Russellville has been there. And that's kind of wild to think about, that we're not the first people that have looked at this area, and especially like when you look over at the Nuclear One plant from the Sunset area. That's just wild to think that hadn't been there forever, and Native Americans were up there and have lived up there for longer than we can record. And then also it's crazy to see American history over there too, with the Civilian Conservation Corps building a lot of the infrastructure on but an interesting contrast I'd like to focus on today is a historical fact is that Mount Nebo, the name actually comes from the Bible, talking about the story in Exodus of the mountain where Moses viewed the promised land for the Israelite people, and which that is pretty cool. For I guess that it's almost like a reference for college students too. It's like they come to Russellville for school and at Arkansas Tech, and they can view the city they've looked at and so excited to spend time in. And then, in contrast, Mount Nebo also overlooks a section of the Trail of Tears on the Arkansas River, and so there's probably very little hope in that situation. So the name references a time where people were hoping for something better, but the reality it's witnessed is faced quite the opposite. And yeah, that's a very dark part of the Arkansas history, is the Trail of Tears and all the hardship that went into that. And I think that would be a great addition to the interpretation on top of the mountain, especially at the sunset, or I guess really at the sunset and the sunrise peak, to highlight the suffering that did take place from the Trail of Tears just down the mountain. Once you let all of that set in, there are over 25 miles of trails on this mountain and state park, and so if you choose to walk there, like after the view, seeing the view at the peak, let all that sink in, thinking about the history, geologically and historically, that's taken place there, and hopefully, hope you have a great time hiking and seeing this park. And who knows what you find on the trail out there. Please tune in for our next episode for the Peak Arkansas podcast. On the next episode, we will feature Lake Ouachita State Park and get to feature some of its highlights. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.